3-0 in the first game in the Premier League. That is a very good start. And I forgot to say, if you don't know me, I'm Wally from FOOTY with Wally. In this channel, I cover Tottenham Hotspur and I make some content about the Premier League in general. So let's start with the video. Look at the numbers, you can see that Tottenham dominated, but it was not domination from the first minutes up to the end of the game, because we saw some troubles here and there, especially in the first half. But just to give a general analysis, as you can see, 2.3 expected goals, but the goals actually were very difficult to score. And Richarlison, who I think surprised me, because if you saw, you probably didn't, if you saw my video where I talked about the players I would sell, I said I would sell Richarlison. However, this start indicates that he can fit in the system, in Thomas Frank's system. That is very good for the manager, because now he has another option apart from Solanke. I also really like the fact that Tottenham were not playing boring positional football like some games we see Manchester City playing, even though overall I think Manchester City play a very aesthetic football, but sometimes we have those boring games. And today, even though Tottenham had the ball for the most of the time, the game was not boring, at least the majority of the game, because under Thomas Frank, for example, when the team is pressing high, the players want to get the ball and then try to create a chance, try to create an opportunity to score a goal, not necessarily to have time to settle the attack, settle the team in the second half of the pitch, and then from there start to build something. It's like, I got the ball, I see someone running, I'll try a long ball. And for example, Tottenham tried almost 50 long balls against a team who played in a very low block. That is something, that is a relevant number. Actually, I checked and there was 43 long balls. But for the sake of comparison, for example, Burnley tried the same 43 long balls. But we need to consider that Tottenham were playing in the attack and Burnley were next to their area. So it makes sense for the team who is defending to try long balls. More specifically about Thomas Frank and his choices, I think he was very intelligent in his starting 11, because, for example, if we imagine Palhinha and Bentancur in this game, it's not their style. I know they also were on the bench because of the rotation, because next game is against Manchester City and the last one was against PSG. I know it is the rotation, but he could have tried to put, let's say, Palhinha and Palhinha plus one, like Palhinha, Gray and Sarr, or something like that, like try to mix with more defensive players in the midfield. But I liked the courage of putting two teenagers in the game where they could thrive. It's not like those horrible situations where the team are losing 2-0 and then the manager just see two teenagers and say, I don't know, go there and try something. Like, that is not how you develop youngsters. But this game was very important for them. Above all, I'm always impressed with this boy, because he seems like he's 26. He just shows a lot of maturity in like decision making, passing, shooting. He does everything. It's just impressive. Richy as well, I liked him today, and I said this in my video analyzing Thomas Frank's tactics, that I think that Richy has a lot of potential to thrive under Thomas Frank, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see this happening. Something worth noting is like the abysm, like the huge difference that is what we saw last season at Aero Duels compared to now. Last season, Tottenham were horrible at set pieces, and now, like, team with let's say 2 months of training, the team are like way better at set pieces. It's like before, any crossing was a nightmare, and now any crossing is an opportunity to score a goal, and that is totally on Thomas Frank, because like the players are the same. So if some things changes with the same players, roughly the same players, it is because of the manager. And as I said earlier, pressing, the goal is to get the ball and try to create chances, try to look for a progressive pass, try to look for a long ball. Also talking about pressing, the moment when Tottenham wants to press high, and as we know, under Thomas Frank, his teams wants to press high with man on man, I think the team will improve a lot still, because that requires a lot of coordination. You need to press coordinatedly, if that's a word. Like, everyone needs to do the same at the same time to the press to work. So I think, for example, in 3-4 months, I think the pressing is already working, and I think it will be way better and even more dangerous against any opponent, really. So something negative is that I didn't like Brendan Johnson's game, even though I know he scored a goal and that's very good for an attacker, for him to gain more confidence and etc. But I didn't like his game because, as a left winger, I think Tottenham needs someone who can beat his man, like in the 1v1 situation. For example, Eze would fit the team perfectly. Like an attack with Kudus, Solanke, or Richarlison and Eze would be very strong. So now focusing more on the players individually speaking, Richarlison had an amazing game. Apart from the goals he scored, obviously the goals are very important, and he scored goals that were very, very hard to score because both were one-touch goals. And the second one was like so Richarlison. He always finds all of those like surprising goals in the most surprising situations, and also both goals with Kudus assisting. And as I said earlier, Brennan Johnson, in my opinion, didn't stand out because first of all, he was sort of isolated. Like the team were not playing in order to help people who were on the left side. Only 27 touches on the ball, which is not a lot, especially considering he's a winger. Like I don't remember him beating his man on 1v1 in the sense of dribbling. However, when the opportunity showed up, as Brennan Johnson does very often, he scored. And the midfield, I liked that everyone were trying to do everything, because I remember situations where Archie Gray would like enter the area, opponent's area, while Bergvall would cover for him and Saab would do something else, or sometimes Saab would create a chance and then Archie Gray would be defending and Bergvall would be giving an option for a pass or something like that. So everyone was creating, defending, covering, entering the area, like swapping positions with one another, and they were very organized with the team. And again, 2 teenagers and one guy who is also very young, which is Massa, and that just impressed me a lot. And I hope to see more Bergvall, more Archie Gray, because those kids, those teenagers, they are very, very good with a lot of potential. And so like I said about the right side, like the game was focused on the right side with Faro and Kudus. And I understand that Kudus was playing very well, like beating his man, going for 1v1 situations all the time. However, I saw a lack of versatility regarding the team. I do not remember any chance created from like in the middle of the pitch, for example, any good chance, more on the wingers. And more specifically on the right winger, because as I said, Brennan Johnson didn't create a lot of chances, but at the end of the day it worked. Like focus on the right, Kudus found 2 assists for Richarlison. So some negatives that I saw were, first of all, the team started the game very well, and by the way, the map is higher the green bars, more attacks, more chances, more offensive actions Tottenham were creating. And for the blue bars, the same, but for Burnley. So as you can see by the map, Tottenham were playing very, very well, or started the game very well, but at some point, and the narrator here in Brazil and the commentator said the same, like the team seemed to not be interested in the game anymore. It was like, we're winning 1-0 against Burnley, they will not score, we'll win when we want. Like that was the impression that we had. And in a period that I would say more or less of 15 minutes, like a range of 15 minutes, Burnley sort of dominated the actions, and that's against a better team. Let's say against I'm not even talking about Liverpool, City, etc. Even let's say Bournemouth or Brighton, I imagine they would have scored, because Tottenham just seemed distracted / not interested / I don't know, it was weird. But then in second half, the team started to play aggressively, start to press, start to get the ball and control the game, as it was the correct to do, as it was the correct to, comparing the difference between the two teams. Also in the first half, we saw some individual mistakes. Like I remember Romero losing the ball like 2-3 times in a very silly way, in a very, like the words that came to my mind is distracted. I don't want to say at some point some players were not playing seriously. I'm just saying that in the first half we saw individual mistakes, basically mistakes that shouldn't happen. But I imagine Thomas Frank like just shouted at them and said, guys, let's focus on this game. Let's not bottle 3 points in the Premier League. Let's start well. And the players were like very, very focused in second half and just dominated the game. It was just complete domination. And my last negative point is conceding too many shots to Burnley. 14 is a lot of shots, but most of those shots were in the first half, which basically matches everything we said so far. Like the first half was good, like the half of the first half was very good, and then this period of distraction / lack of concentration, Burnley almost scored from there in this period. But if we analyze the whole 90 minutes, Tottenham played a very good game, and we are seeing a lot of signs that Thomas Frank was a very good choice. But that was my analysis. I'm trying to keep those videos, like those post-match analysis / reaction videos, around, let's say, 10 minutes. I think it would be good. So if you can give me any feedback in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share with a friend in case I have said anything useful. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.